Oldecam coming to you today without no spring chick because this is the start of fashion week in Los Angeles, and she's basically going through her clothes to decide what she wants to wear and what not to wear this weekend. But what we got is the Asian markets show signs of life, and then they tank because our stock market as of this moment is down 341 points, and the Democrats are holding more hearings about punishing people for causing the problem. I hate to tell people this though, but putting firewood up against the side of a building is not a crime, but lighting the match under the firewood is a crime. So most of the people, while they were unethical, they didn't do anything illegal. Oil prices rebounded to $90 a barrel after falling to a 9-month low. Well, basically they went back down again today with the stock market. Man makes dozens of people hostage at call center in Guatemala. I guess he basically was unhappy with the fact that call centers are paying absolutely no attention to what people are saying. You ever tried talking to one of those call centers that we have in our country that's basically stuck in the middle of India or Pakistan? You don't get a whole lot done, do you? Basically, right now, Obama has a 3-point national lead on McCain. Well, at this point, 8 years ago, I think Kerry had an 11-point lead. About 4 years ago, Kerry had an 8-point lead. 8 years ago, Gore had a 17-point lead. So basically, leads are sort of irrelevant at the moment, even though we do know from what the press has said that Obama is officially the president no matter what happens. So, how Wall Street affects personal investments. Well, I just heard this said that $2 trillion in people's retirement investments have gone out the window as a result of falling in the stock market. So when they say that Wall Street doesn't affect the little person, well, $2 billion is a lot of money to lose in your retirement portfolio. This is from the studies of Really Stupid, which the study shows microwave pose burn injury risk to small children. I would really like to get in on that study business. I mean, I could simply, $10 million to do a study on why is it that people, when they get to be senior citizens like me, don't feel like they're 18 years of age anymore. I mean, that's got to be worth at least $10 million to the United States government. This is fun. Penguins ride Air Force cargo plane back to South America. I mean, what were they doing when they had to begin with? I mean, they travel well, but I mean, to go far enough that they have to get a cargo plane route back. But basically, this one, the Fed eyes plan to fund short-term business loans. Basically, they announced that it could go up to $1 trillion in order to be able to put money back in people's hands in the local businesses. Because the problem is not assets. The problem is there is no cash in the system. In fact, there's no cash in the system means that banks are not lending, and because they're not lending, there is no money for the people to pay their everyday bills and payroll. Another one, Lehman sought millions for executives while seeking aid. Well, yeah, because it was in their contracts. Contractual law is very specific. Just because the people in Washington, D.C. don't like the fact that somebody's got this contract, you got to give him $300 million, does not mean that you can basically go to contract out. I mean, they have a contract that's, with the American people. They tend to ignore their contract, but a written contract is something that you can't ignore. The law will go along with the executives, not the federal government. Prosecutors moved to delay Rezko sentencing. Basically, they say they're doing this because it means the man is talking. They're basically doing it because they don't want to have anything embarrassing coming out about the elected officials, Republican and Democrat, and particularly Mr. Obama, until after the election. And then it's irrelevant. Upset over financial problems, man kills family and himself. Well, when I was younger, people used to throw themselves off the top of buildings when they busted. Today they do things in a more stupid manner. They kill other people instead of just themselves. Fan use linked to lower risk of sudden baby death. Basically, that one I don't understand whatsoever, because a lot of people have fans in their place to begin with, so I don't see how use of a fan, can give you a lower risk of sudden baby infant syndrome. We've got the rapper R. Kelly seeks $3 million from tour promoter. Well, if you don't have the money You can't get blood out of a turnip, folks, no matter how hard you try to squeeze it. Basically, here's another one. Obama awarded Illinois grants to relatives. While it's unethical, it was not illegal, and that is the problem. A lot of things that people do are unethical in life, but they are not illegal. Rescue plan disappointed contributed itself. Well, basically, a lot of the people we've talked to have said it simply was too little, too late. It is not a $700 billion plan like was originally requested. It is a $250 billion plan. It is not a three-page plan to get things done. It is a 400-page plan with $105 billion worth of goodies for people in it. Basically, it's not going to get paid for. Debate stakes higher for McCain as insults amount. Well, basically, the nasty enough is starting earlier because basically McCain is feeling the pressure from everybody since it is basically a lock that Obama is going to be elected president. No matter how well McCain does, they're not going to let Mr. Obama not win the presidency, folks. Basically, Palin criticizes Obama's ties to right and heirs. Well, she should be criticizing it. I mean, the Democrats are criticizing everything on the Republican side. Shouldn't time the Republicans start criticizing the Democratic side? The fact that nobody is listening is irrelevant, but that's the way it is. Here's one. The Bank of America earnings tumble and cuts dividend. Basically, they're trying to borrow $10 billion to cover bad debts that they've got. The biggest bad debt being Countrywide, in which they just had to make an $8 billion settlement, which basically is a paper settlement to begin with and nothing else. Pakistan to deport all Afghans from tribal region. Well, since they just come and go as they choose in Pakistan, that's not good. You send them out today and tomorrow they'll be back again. And this is from another of the news of the absurd. China vows overhaul chaotic milk industry. Since China is a dictatorship, they don't really care what people around the world think of them. They'll, the day after tomorrow, after they clean the thing up, they'll be sending tainted milk out to people. The trick is, they're just upset that somebody got caught, not that they actually did it. Paulson turned to Goldman Sachs to unclog credit market. The problem is that Goldman Sachs is one of those people that got problems. So what you want to do is go to somebody that's got a problem and figure out how to solve the problem. No, you go to somebody that doesn't have a problem and hasn't got an axe to grind either direction and let them run the thing. European governments go their own way on crisis. Basically, you can't get two governments around the world to agree on how to handle the situation. Most of them are sort of like our United States Congress. They wait until the situation is too critical. Then they decide to work. Basically, after the cow has went through the open barn door, it's too late to close the barn door. Iceland's banks are falling along with the German banks, the British banks. I know I have relatives in England that are in their fifth day, actually, sixth day, it's Tuesday, fifth day of pulling stuff from ATM machines because they're basically afraid to go into the bank and pull the stuff out because they're afraid of a run on the banks that are doing ATM runs every day to withdraw all their funds. Slow economy hits state sales tax revenue. If you're not buying anything, you don't have any tax revenue, but they're working on this problem by putting a bag tax in, 25 cents a grocery store bag in order to go shopping or retail stores, which basically recoups the money that's losing on sales taxes. I like this. A small asteroid headed for a light show over Africa. Well, a small asteroid is a meteor comes down every day. That's nothing new. This is just going to be a little bit more of a light thing than the other thing. But see, the AMD is to spin off its manufacturing units. That's not a good sign for the company because it means it's going down the drain. Trying to ease credit, IRS eases loan regulations. Basically, they're fudging a little bit on how you can make loans, which basically got us into the trouble to begin with, folks. Ford features will allow parents to set limits on teens. Why don't they just build a car that people can afford to drive? That would be a better deal for Ford. eBay is cutting 1,600 jobs, 10% of its workforce, because people are not using eBay as much as they used to. Here we got a Monty Ball of Mark Twain of the Animal Kingdom, which basically sort of fits in with the situation we're in right now. You can't pick the laws you're going to obey and not obey.